issues. At midnight tonight, this planet will be pulled inside out. There will be nothing left. No way.
This is his last chance to stay alive, and you know it.
What do you know of last chances?
More than you!
Welcome back to the Nerdy Grail, and welcome to another episode in this ranking every episode from every Doctor series. Now, this is the 7th episode in this series, and I'm also recording this video as part of a bulk recording of a few videos so that you don't go without content while I am currently away on holiday. So if you see me wearing a similar outfit in the next few videos, it's because I did all these at the same time. But if you've watched any other video as part of this series, I have finished the modern era. So I did the 15th Doctor, the 13th Doctor, the 12th, 11th, 10th, and in the last video, I did the 9th Doctor, played by Christopher Eccleston, where in a tier list format, I ranked every single one of their episodes in my personal opinion. Now, as you can see behind me, I've got the next video lined up for you. And we are doing two Doctors in today's video because one of the Doctors doesn't really have many TV appearances and I didn't want to miss him out. So in today's video, we are going to be combining both the 7th Doctor, played by Sylvester McCoy, and the 8th Doctor, played by Paul McGann. So just a couple of things before I get into the tier list, because you will notice a couple of oddballs on the list. So obviously I'm combining 7 and 8 because there's not many for 8, so I thought rather than miss 8 out completely, I will combine him with 7 because in 8's first proper and only proper TV appearance, he does share the limelight with Sylvester McCoy, so I thought I got to put him on there as well because it's also Sylvester McCoy's regeneration story at the same time. However, in this list, you will notice I have actually included the 30th anniversary Dimensions in Time EastEnders crossover just for a little bit of fun, because at the time McCoy was still the current core Doctor, and so I thought, because it sticks between Survival and TV movie, I'd include it. And also for Paul McGann, I've not only included obviously the TV movie, but I also thought I will include his little mini-sode that you got for the 50th anniversary Night of the Doctor, as that is technically his regeneration story, so to speak. So Paul McGann does have another entry other than just the TV movie. But now all of that is out of the way, I will put links to all the previous videos in the description down below. But sit back, relax, and let's begin the classic era of Doctor Who now, where I rank every single 7th and 8th Doctor story. Okay then, so this is the tier list ranking every 7th and 8th Doctor episode in Doctor Who, and these are the 5 categories we've got. So top of the shop, so these are like the best episodes. We've got Somewhere There's Danger, Somewhere There's Injustice, and Somewhere Else the Tea's Getting Cold. Come on, Ace, we've got work to do. So like the final core quote said in Survival by the Doctor in at the end of the classic series in Survival. We've then got the next category down, which is the good category. So these are good stories, but just not the best. We've got Think About Me When You're Living Your Life, One Day After Another, all in a neat pattern. So this is when he's saying goodbye to Mel in Dragonfire. You've got Crush the Lesser Races, Conquer the Galaxy, Unimaginable Power, Unlimited Rice Pudding, etc., etc. So this is when he's arguing with Davros in Remembrance of the Daleks. And this category is the OK category. So they're not bad, but they're not good either. They're just mid-tier stories. Then you've got Why Don't You Do It Then? Look Me in the Eye, Pull the Trigger, End My Life. This is when he's arguing with two guys on the balcony in the Happiness Patrol. This is the bad category. So they're not the worst stories, but they're also not stories that I think are great either. And then right at the bottom, you've got Subject for Catalogue, file under Imagination, Lack of. So this is from Ghostlight, and these are the stories that I think are really bad. So here you are, you've got all the McCoy era here, from Time of the Rani to Survival. I did include Dimensions in Time because I thought that would be a bit of fun. We got the TV movie, and we then got Night of the Doctor as well for Paul McGann. So let us begin, and you might find that my opinions on these stories are a bit odd because the McCoy era I've got a bit of an odd relationship with, especially since my fiance loves the McCoy era, meaning that I do watch the McCoy stories quite a lot, and yeah, I do have a bit of a soft spot for him. Even the stories that I know some people think aren't that bad are quite bad. So to start with, we've got Time of the Rani. Now, a lot of people would really put this at the bottom. I'm actually going to put it in OK. And the reason I'm going to put it in okay before everyone starts going crazy saying, what on earth are you doing? This is a terrible story, is I think it's fun. Yes, it's not the best story. Yes, it's got a lot of behind the scenes stuff because obviously everything that happened with Colin. But the story's a fun story, and I think that's kind of why I like it, is it's so wild, wacky, insane, and crazy that it makes it entertaining. You know, the Doctor's been shot down, crash lands on Lakersha due to the Rani. Mel has to try and deal with a post-regenerated Doctor. You know, the Rani disguises herself as Mel, which I think is hilarious, and I'm gutted we didn't get another little callback to that in Wish World and Reality War with Mel and the Rani again. The tech traps are a cool design, and the planet of Lakersha, albeit another like quarry setting, you know, it was interesting, and they made it look quite fascinating. You know, Rani capturing all these brilliant scientific minds, you know, using them, I thought was quite interesting. The fact that she used the thought of the Doctor and actually saw him as a genius, I thought was quite flattering for the Doctor, to be perfectly honest. But it was quite a fun story. So that's why it's in okay, is because I have fun watching it. I don't get bored watching Time and the Rani. And these two categories I put for stories that I think are boring as well. They're bad and boring. If it's bad but fun, I think you could sort of, you know, give it the benefit of the doubt and put it in okay. Paradise Towers might surprise some people, but I actually quite like Paradise Towers. I'm going to put Paradise Towers up in the good category because, like Time and the Rani, yes, it's a bad story to a degree, but it is such a fun story, and I think it's actually more fun than Time and the Rani. I'm quite a defender of season 24, to be perfectly honest. And like I said, my opinions on Sylvester McCoy's era are going to differ greatly to a lot of people. But I love the setting of Paradise Towers. I love the Kangs, the red Kangs, the blue Kangs, the way they talk, the way their demeanour is fun. I like Mel running around the different rooms, teaming up with Pex, this, you know, supposed strong man who's the defender of Paradise Towers, but actually he chickened out of going to the war and fighting and defending the Paradise Towers, you know, and has to build that bond and build his courage up. The cleaners and the caretakers are all fun characters, albeit the imagery that they are does teeter on some disturbing things from the past. You know what I mean if you've seen Paradise Towers. And those two old ladies, those cannibal old ladies, wow, I didn't expect that at all, but they are some of my favourite characters. And I just find it fun, but it's a good kind of fun. And so I love watching it. It's definitely my favourite episode of season 24. Then we got Delta and the Bannerman. Now, my opinion of this has changed a lot over time. I used to originally think this story would be down here, but the more I've actually watched Delta and the Bannerman, the more I've actually not minded it so much, and I personally think it's an okay story. It's just a short and sweet little stopgap between two kind of dark and weird stories. You know, Paradise Towers does have dark undertones, you know, where the cleaners are obviously kidnapping people and taking them off to be fed. And then you've got Dragonfire, which follows, which has dark undertones too. But Delta and the Bannerman, you know, Doctor and Mel just go on holiday. They're originally going to go to Disneyland, but they crash land in Wales in a place called Shangri-La Holiday Camp. And there's this last of her species, Delta, is on the run from the Bannerman, who are trying to kill her to wipe her species out. And the Doctor and all have to sort of protect her. But I just like it. I love all the alien species trying to pretend to fit in on Earth. It's just a bit of fun. You know, the Doctor dancing at a late night disco. It's, yeah, if you want a bit of a fun and a laugh, it's not that bad. And the pacing is done quite well. I've just enjoyed it more and more as time's gone on. So I can't deny it is a bit of fun. This story, now, Dragonfire, the end of the series, has gone down in my estimate. And for me, Dragonfire is down here. Now, this might really shock some people. Because a lot of people see Dragonfire as, you know, the best story in season 24. And I can see kind of where you're coming from. It's the introduction of Ace, the departure of Mel. You get the return of Sabalon Glitz from Trial of the Time Lord from the Colin Baker era, which we'll talk about in the next video when we do the 6th Doctor's era. So Glitz comes back and it's quite nice to see him, but he doesn't really play a major role. He's just sort of there almost for fan service, and it's a bit of a weird one. And his performance in this is okay, not the best if I'm honest. I like Ace and how she's introduced. Mel's departure didn't really seem warranted and felt a bit rushed. You know, the setting of Iceworld is quite nice. I must admit, all the crystals and the white and making the floors all slippery, they really went hard on the ice world theme, the icy theme. It's obviously got the classic cliffhanger of the Doctor just diving down off the side of a cliff and hanging there from his umbrella, which is weird. But then in the very next episode, Glitz is actually underneath him, and so it's not actually as sheer a drop as you think. It's a very weird one. But I've just found the more I watch it, the more bored I get, because the more I'm thinking, why was this character needed? Does that plotline make sense? The pacing feels a bit off here. What's going on there? You know, the more I watch it, the more things the more plot holes and the more, things that just irritate me a little bit. So I don't mind also Mel's departure, but again, it just felt rushed. But yeah, so I'm not a huge fan of Dragonfire, if I'm perfectly honest. I wouldn't say it's terrible, which is why it's not down here, but I can't personally say, for me anyway, in terms of watchability, I'd go back to watch Dragonfire as much as I'd watch the other 3 in season 24. Remembrance of the Daleks, need I say more? I think people would come for me if I didn't, but I agree. Remembrance of the Daleks is definitely by far probably one of the best Sylvester McCoy stories, one of the best Doctor Who stories. It is a fantastic story from start to finish, thoroughly entertaining. I don't even know how many times I have watched Remembrance of the Daleks. It is a solid Dalek story. Nice little tidbits and Easter eggs. You've got 2 factions of Daleks at war with each other, which we've done in the new series as well, which I think is really, really cool, really interesting. I love that. This is the first story on screen where the Doctor, and I'm emphasising this, the Doctor sees a Dalek hover upstairs. In the Colin Baker era in Revelation of Daleks, you do see a Dalek hover off the ground, and you see Davros hover a bit off the ground. But the Doctor didn't see the Dalek hover, but he does here, and so you got the classic cliffhanger of the Doctor running up the stairs and the Daleks coming after him up the stairs, and he's shocked beyond belief. It is so great to see. I'm glad that they don't use Davros in this story very much. He's only at the end. Technically, he's in it all the way through as the Emperor, but they only reveal him as Davros for the last 10 minutes of part 4. So it's nice to have a Dalek story without Davros, because from Genesis, Davros appears in every Dalek story. So it's nice to see the Daleks working on their own. I like the Earthbound setting as well. I love all the characters, the little makeshift unit crew they've got going on. The return to the junkyard, I think, was quite nice to reveal the Daleks as the threat. And the pacing is really good. Some strong characters and good links to the past. This is the true anniversary story of the season, the true 25th anniversary, even though it's technically not. Then we got Happiness Patrol. A bit like Paradise Towers, I have a real soft spot for the Happiness Patrol. I quite like it. I love the Candyman. I know for certain reasons as to why the Candyman can't return, but I would love to see the Candyman come back in Doctor Who in one way, shape or form. Could we do a different version of it? Because he's so menacing and creepy, and I love it. And I love the idea, obviously, them going to a planet where everyone is forced to be happy. You can't be upset, otherwise you're deemed as what they call killjoys, and so they remove you in fun and interesting ways, like a trip to the Candy Kitchen where the Candyman gets you, or you get drowned in sweets, There's lots of fun, unique ways that they get rid of people in this story. And it's a very emotional story as well, in more ways than one, not just for happiness, but also for sadness as well. If you've seen the ending with Helen A's pet, Fifi, you know what I'm talking about. I love the pink TARDIS as well, painting the TARDIS pink because it looks too dreary in its little dark blue tint. It's a fun story, and it's a short one. It's only a 3-parter. So, pacing is perfect as well. I quite like it, if I'm honest. Especially the more updated version with extra scenes that they put in for the Blu-ray box set in the collection range for season 25. Gave it a whole new feel, in my opinion. Now, the actual anniversary-esque story we've got is Silver Nemesis. Silver Nemesis, right, for me, is probably just okay. Look, it can, for me, teeter down here to where Dragonfire is, but like I think it is okay. But the problem is it's got too many elements. There's like 3 different plot lines going on at once, all trying to converge on each other. You've got like these neo-Nazi, like Nazi people who are after the Nemesis statue. You've also got Lady Painfort and her little squire after it. And then you've got the Cybermen. I feel like you needed to take one element out of the story because all 3 of them together means that it's a bit of a mishmash of mix-up stuff that doesn't make sense, and one always gets less screen time than the other. And I feel like for your silver anniversary, you know, the silver nemesis, I feel like you needed to have the Cybermen be the core focus. I feel like the Cybermen versus Lady Painfort is the way you should go, and is the way they went more of, because it's the Nazi-esque characters that sort of get shoved to the side. I just think they should have been removed completely. I think the Cybermen versus Lady Painfort is way more interesting and is done really, really well. And the Doctor tricking the Cybermen as well in this story, like he does to the Daleks. Ace even mentions it, I think is really, really good. I will say the design of the Cybermen, though, not a big fan. Obviously, it's still that 80s design that you've had since Earthshock, but they've given them a slight chrome-esque effect, and they've changed their gloves, so they've got like a giant finger, which doesn't really make much sense. Not a huge fan of their slight redesign in Silver Nemesis. They should have kept it from Attack of the Cybermen, 5 Doctors, and Earthshock, if I'm honest. Not a huge fan of it, if I'm honest. It's okay, but it's just a bit of a mess because they've got too much going on in Silver Nemesis. For a 3-parter as well, you needed to make it maybe longer if you're going to include all these elements, because it just felt rushed and off. But Ace taking on the Cybermen with the gold coins, wow, she is a badass. Then you've got Greatest Show in the Galaxy. I really like Greatest Show in the Galaxy. That's top of the shop for me as well. A bit like Remembrance of the Daleks. You know, I'm scared of clowns. I'm coming out saying I don't like clowns, but I love the circus. And I think this space circus-esque idea is great. I think the atmosphere is perfect. I think all the cast are brilliant. And I think, you know, introducing the gods and all here again as well in the gods of Ragnarok, who, might I add, and my fiancé said the same thing, wouldn't it have been great if in the Interstellar Song Contest it was the gods of Ragnarok who would judge the contest? I mean, RTD, you should have thought about that, because that would have been brilliant. Bring back the gods of Ragnarok for the Interstellar Song Contest. That's what should have happened. But yeah, absolutely brilliant. Loved it. Creepy, good music, good atmosphere. It was intense. The characters were great. I love the Doctor's manipulation. He knows that Ace doesn't like clowns and circuses, but he takes her there anyway. You can see the manipulation side of the Doctor really come into play in season 25, from obviously tricking the Daleks, tricking the Cybermen, committing genocide, you know, manipulating Ace in this story. It's just brilliant from start to finish. Absolutely love it. It is the greatest show in the galaxy. Battlefield, unfortunately for me, Battlefield is also going to go down here with Dragonfire. I'm actually not a big fan of Battlefield, if I'm perfectly honest. I just don't think it's done very well. It's the last story in Doctor Who. I mean, not counting Sarah Jane Adventures, but in Doctor Who for Nicholas Courtney's Brigadier, Lethbridge Stewart. But he doesn't need to be here, and I heard that they were originally going to kill him off in this story, but they decided not to. And I don't know, to a degree, I feel like that would have been better, if I'm honest. Not because I don't like the Brigadier, but I think it would have given him a bit more of a purpose in this story. I think because of that, he just felt a bit thrown in there for the sake of it. And that was a bit unfortunate. And also, it wasn't even technically like the anniversary season. If he was going to come back, you should have done it in the season prior, you know? But yeah, the whole thing of Merlin and everything, and Morgaine thinking that the Doctor's Merlin and all this mystery, because they started to build up a bit of a mystery about the Doctor in this series. This is the 7th Doctor's true dark manipulative season, so they were building up new mysteries where they were going to explore that in future seasons, but it ends up going nowhere. It was nice to see Bessie again, albeit obviously a slightly different design, because obviously a lot of time has passed since Bessie was last in the show in Robot. But so yeah, it was interesting to see Bessie again. I don't know. It just felt a bit of a mess, if I'm honest. And it was nice seeing Nicholas Courtney, but he didn't really need to be there. Ghost Light. This for me is going in the category with the Ghost Light quote of subject for catalogue, file under imagination, lack of. Yeah, I don't like Ghost Light. Don't like Ghostlight at all. The only thing I like of Ghostlight is the atmosphere. I think they do the atmosphere perfect in Ghostlight. You know, the creepy mansion house. You know, it's all dark. The music is quite intense. And I think they do that brilliantly. But I think the plot is a mess. I think the villain of Light is so annoying. And all the other cast are just weird. You know, the only merciful thing as well is that it's a short 3-part story. But I'm not a huge fan. Ghostlight at all. I skip it where I can. Not a massive fan of it, and I know there's a lot of people that also aren't huge on Ghostlight as well. But yeah, it's definitely, in my opinion, my least favourite Sylvester McCoy story. The Curse of Fenric is going up here. The Curse of Fenric then is the polar opposite to Ghostlight in that it is a fantastic story that delves really deep into Ace's history. You see the Doctor at his most manipulative, where he pretty much like belittles Ace. He has to, in order to save the day, but he really shows that he's been playing Ace all this time since Dragonfire. You know, Fenric apparently had set Ace up with the Doctor, and that all comes out in this story, and I think it's done absolutely fantastically. I love the Hemivore creatures. They look scary, like sea vampires almost. And there's these 2 girls that Ace teams up with in the story, and they become those creatures as well. And they're creepy and sinister as well. And I love that the whole story revolves around faith. And they bring that back up in the modern era, in the God Complex, in the hotel story with the little Minotaur-esque creature, where it's all about faith and, you know, devoting yourself to someone, and that powers up the creature. They do that in this story as well. And I think it's done really, really well. And the atmosphere, you know, it's all takes place during like storms and rainy weather. It is brilliant. I love it. Fantastic. Really good. And a good little story arc that happens over the McCoy era. Fantastic. And Ace gets over her fear of the water as well, because you see more fears of Ace come out in this season. And it is just done really well. And then Survival for me, I quite like Survival. I think Survival's a good, fun little end to the McCoy era. Final little confrontation and showdown between the 7th Doctor and the Master. Anthony Ainley playing the Master one last time, although the Master is sort of, again, a tiny bit like the Brigadier. You could have probably taken the Master out and it wouldn't have changed the story an awful lot, to be honest, because the Master doesn't actually majorly carry the plot along. He's sort of just trapped in this other dimension, and the Doctor just somehow manages to stumble upon him, and so because of that, he then uses the Doctor to help get out. And then they have a little final confrontation at the end. But the Master's sort of slowly becoming a cheetah person, so he's not quite the Master that we know, but it is nice and interesting to see him. Ace is done fantastically as well, and a nice little end to the series with that great speech, which is up at the top here. It's just a fun, quirky little story, a bit like Paradise Towers and Happiness Patrol, which is why I've put it in the same category. Next then, we've got Dimensions in Time. I literally just put this one in for a bit of fun. Look, if I'm being perfectly honest, is this good? No, it's not good. It's going to obviously go down here. It's not quite as bad as Ghostlight. It's bad, but it could technically go into okay. So say that it's technically in here, but I'm going to leave it here. You know, Dimensions in Time, it's an EastEnders Doctor crossover for the 30th anniversary. It's a mess. It's all over the place. It's just a bit of fun just to get all the actors back together one last time, just as a little hurrah to Doctor Who and EastEnders, for, you know, because why not? But yeah, the Rani is trapped 2 of the Doctors in a time loop, and then has captured all the rest of the Doctors, you know, to try and take them out of time and stop him once and for all. The Rani in her TARDIS has this weird carpet in the TARDIS. Tom Baker is stuck in this like Windows XP background. It's all a bit odd and bizarre. It's a bit of fun, but it's not good. Let's be realistic. Okay, the TV movie. I have a soft spot for the TV movie, if I'm honest. I over time, I've grown more on the TV movie, and I quite like it. It's not quite the best, but I would also say it is a fairly good movie. You know, it's supposed to be like a pilot for a new era of the show, and they do their best for what they're given, you know? You get to see, obviously, Sylvester McCoy at the start of the story as well, who then regenerates into Paul McGann, and Paul McGann does the Doctor really well. There's a couple of odd decisions made, like trying to make the Doctor half human, which has always been an ongoing thing. Is he lying? Is that true? You know, who knows? Who's to say? Eric Roberts as the Master, you know, he's very campy, very like theatrical in the way he does it. Very Bram Stoker's Dracula as well in his attire. The TARDIS looks like that as well, especially the cloister bell room or whatever, you know, with bats flying around it. I don't know what they were thinking. You know, Frankenstein-esque regeneration. You know, it is a very odd movie, but I like it. You know, they were doing this doomsday clock, you know, the world will end, and, you know, at midnight in the year 2000, this, that, and the other. You know, Happy New Year, all this, that, and the other. And the TARDIS is at the centre of it all. The Master's trying to steal the Doctor's regenerations because he's on his last legs, you know, so has to go around stealing bodies to survive. You know, typical Master stuff, really. But I quite like it. And I'm gutted we never got to see more of Paul McGann going forward. We've seen him here and there, and obviously, if you want to know Paul McGann better as the Doctor, listen to some of his Big Finish. He's got some great Big Finish audios. The Chimes of Midnight being one of them, which is fantastic. Terra Firma being another one, which is fantastic. You know, Minuet in Hell or To Hell, where he meets the Brigadier. There's some fantastic ones. I could go on and on, but yeah, there's just a couple there for you to check out maybe. And then finally we've got The Night of the Doctor, and I also think this is a fairly good... It's only a short little episode. You know, it's about 6-7 minutes long, and it takes place during the Time War. The Doctor stumbles across someone in need who's escaping being under attack by the Daleks in a crashing spaceship. The Doctor comes on, tries to save her, but she refuses his help because he's a Time Lord and thinks that he's responsible for the Time War and he's just as bad as the Daleks. The Doctor, being the Doctor, refuses to let her just die, so he stays there. The ship crashes, it ends up damaging his body, and he's forced to regenerate on Khan. The Sisterhood help him and turn him into the War Doctor, and that is pretty much all that happens. But it is a nice little final clip for Paul McGann to show the heroic side of the Doctor, and Paul McGann is on top form in this story, if I'm perfectly honest. But that is going to be my ranking every 7th/8th Doctor story. You're probably surprised at some of my decisions, not surprised at others, but that's okay. Like I said, every list is going to be different. But in the next video, we will then tackle the 6th Doctor list because, you know, we're going down the list. I should have mentioned that before, but we are going down the Doctors. So we've done 7 and 8. So in the next video, we'll be doing number 6, played by Colin Baker. But I hope you did enjoy this video. If you did, please like it by giving a thumbs up and comment down below your thoughts on the 7th/8th Doctor's eras. And subscribe if you are new. But for now, this is the Nerdy Grail signing off. I hope you've had an amazing day, and I will see you all in the next video. Bye for now, everyone.